Hi, today I'm reviewing the Xtar X4 charger, which Xtar was nice enough to send me for review. Now this is a nice general purpose charger for almost all your charging needs. The more I used it, the more I liked it. The X4 has a lot of features, most of them being automatic. It has 4 independent charging slots for both 2 amp and 1 amp charging. It charges both lithium-ion and nickel metal hydride batteries. It has an LCD screen to show you lots of information during the charging process. It does 0 volt activation, and it has a USB output power bank function. It will charge sizes from the 14500 up to the larger 21700 batteries. It'll charge nickel metal hydride cells from the AAAs up to C. It has lots of safety features. It uses a 3-stage charging to intelligently pick the best charging current for the batteries. And it has 2 input ports, both for the regular household current and for using a USB input. Now, I'll just show you the input ports here. There's 2 input ports. One is for the household current, and the other one is for, if you have a solar setup, you can use a USB input for it, for example. And it has an output, which is the USB output for a power bank function. I don't personally have a lot of use for the USB input as a power source, but I don't have a solar setup. So I'm generally, for all these tests, I'm using the household AC current. You can either put your batteries in first and then power up the charger, or you can power up the charger and then put your batteries in whenever you want. All the slots are independent, so you can put the batteries in any order. You can mix and match different chemistries and sizes. It's all good. Okay, so let's show you how to do the charging here. Here I've got 4 different kinds of cells: a 18650 lithium-ion, a AAA nickel metal hydride, a AA nickel metal hydride, and a 14500 lithium-ion. When you put the cell in, it basically shows you the current voltage of the cell, an approximate how much the cell is charged, and some other information such as the charging current being used. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the charging current is picked intelligently, and it takes a few minutes for it to figure out what is the maximum current it can use in order to charge a cell without putting too much current through the cell and damaging it. The LCD screen has information for 2 slots. If you're using more than 2 slots at a time, there's a little button in the middle that you can toggle between showing information for the outer 2 slots or the inner 2 slots. The outer 2 slots will charge cells at up to 2 amps as long as you're only using 2 slots. If you're using 3 or 4 batteries, all charging slots are up to 1 amps. I think the LCD screen shows you just about the right amount of information. It shows you the current voltage of the cell. It shows you the charging current from 0.5 amps up to 2 amps being used. It will show you the chemistry type, nickel metal hydride or lithium-ion. And it'll show you the current amount of milliamp hours it has put into the cell during the charging process. I find the gauge there from 0 to 100% as far as the current charge of the battery. It works pretty well for lithium-ion. Doesn't work so well for nickel metal hydride. I think that's just because the voltage curve is so much more flat for nickel metal hydride. Okay, so a little bit later here, we see that the charger has finished charging one of the cells here. Yeah, this cell in slot 2, which is a AAA and loop battery. The charger eventually settled down on picking a 1 amp charge rate for both the nickel metal hydride cells. I find that is a little bit quick for a AAA battery. It's fine for the AA's, but I found the cell got a little warm, not hot, but it's probably a little quicker than I would have liked for it to charge. As for all other cell types I've tried, it did pick a very nice charge rate. The 14500, it chose a 0.5 amp charge rate, which is ideal. And the 18650s, if I'm only charging 2 of them, it'll pick up to a 2 amp charge rate. In this way, I'm charging them at 1 amps because I'm using more than 2 cells. Okay, it's a little bit later now, and it's finished charging some more cells here. Here you can see the outer 2 slots are done, the 18650 and the 14500. It's showing a little bit lower voltage than the termination voltage because it shows you at all times the present voltage of the cell, and there's some voltage sag after termination. If anything, I think the charger charges just under 4.2 volts, which actually I like. I prefer to have just under the 4.2 volts rather than just over. It's a little easier on the cells, and you're only giving up maybe 1% of the capacity of the cell. Okay, here I'm just going to show you the 2-slot charging where you can use up to 2 amps. And I'm trying here an 18650 and a AAA nickel metal hydride N loop. And what you'll eventually see here is that it will pick 2 amps for the 18650, and it'll go up to 1 amp for the nickel metal hydride eventually. It's showing 0.5 amps right now. It thinks for a few minutes, and then it'll eventually rise to 1 amp, and that's the charge rate it'll use. And I think that's about ideal for the N loops. So coming back after a few minutes now, I'll just show you here what it's picked, and you can see it's chosen 2 amps for the 18650, which is a high drain cell, and 1 amp for the N loop. Okay, here I'm just going to show you the USB power bank function of the charger. It uses slot 4 as the charging cell for the USB function. And when you put a cell in there and the charger is not plugged in, it'll show you USB for the output. And then you can just plug it in into your device, and it'll start the charging process of whatever your device. And I find it works well. Okay, time for the pros and cons. I really like this charger. The more I use it, the more I like it. I like that it has the automatic detection and uses the appropriate charging current for all cells I've used, with the exception of the AAA N loops. I like it's a multi-purpose charger, so I can charge both the lithium-ion and N loops. I like that it has the option for using the 2 middle slots for maximum 1 amp if I want to go a little bit easier in the cells. It supports a wide range of cell sizes, so that's nice. And if you are into solar charging, you have the option there of using a micro USB input rather than the household current. As for the cons, there aren't very many. If I had to be picky, I'd say it undercharges lithium-ion just a touch, although to me personally that's more of a positive than a negative. The 1 amp charging of AAA nickel metal hydride cells is a little high. Although the cells can take it, I would prefer it would only charge them at half an amp. And finally, compared to other chargers, I find the springs are a little tight, which is good. They hold it in well, but for one-handed removal, it can make the removal of the cells difficult. So you generally have to use 2 hands to remove the cells. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching.